Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of All Consuming Podcast. Today, we have a band, Irae. I'm sure I pronounced it right. Yeah. We're going to be interviewing them. So let's start with some introductions on you guys. Let's talk to these two guests we have. Yeah. And so first, on the top left of my screen, I don't know about you guys, Nathan, can you tell us who you are, what's your role in the band, and what got you into heavy music? Like, what was your gateway band that was like, what is heavy music?
Yeah. So, yes, my name's Nathan, and I play in Irae, play guitar, and also do, like, singing when called upon. And then, I play in a couple of different other bands, too. I also play in Idle Threat, play guitar in that band, too. But, yeah, so as far as, like, a gateway band, kind of the heavy music journey, I always go back and contribute it to one band, and that band is POD.
Nice.
Back when I was probably 9 or 10 years old, actually I was 10 when Satellite came out, and in like 2001, and that album changed my life. And that was like, from then on, I was like, what? So I definitely am a nu metal kid growing up, like POD, Linkin Park, you know, and as far as like in the Christian scene too, like 38th Parallel, Pillar, like old school stuff.
Someone
like that,
else has heard of 38th Parallel?
Yes, I do.
I never heard of them, dude.
Yes. Oh, they're so good. But yeah.
What is the 38th Parallel?
It's the line between North Korea and South Korea.
Yep.
Boom. I should know that. All right. Anyway.
Geography teacher?
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's skip over that. Okay. So 38th Parallel, Pillar, anything else?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, okay. So back in like middle school, getting into high school, like when I actually started diving more into like heavier music, kind of the heavier bands like Demon Hunter, Old Haste the Day, definitely Under Oath, you know, stuff like that. Back in the day, I was like, that's what really kind of caught my interest. But again, it was like a few years earlier, it was those bands, really like the whole like SoCal kind of like nu metal scene. I like, because I'm from Maryland, I'm on the East Coast, and I was like, it was like this cool, like seeing all these
opposite side of the world.
Yeah, I was like, they're so cool. I want to be like them, you know, and just like all these bands, like, I don't know, like even old Deftones and like Alien Ant Farm. I'm just trying to think of all the ones off the top of my head that were kind of in that, like, I mean, obviously Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, that whole, you know, like, I'm a huge gamer, so like growing up, just sorry, I tend to ramble, but on music and video games, like back in the day, the game ATV Off-Road Fury, that had some amazing bands on it that really like kind of opened my horizon. Had like System of a Down on it. I mean, I'd heard of them before, but yeah, just bands that I'd never really like listened to a ton that kind of really like exposed me to that side of music. So
that's sick.
Yeah. Dude, video game soundtracks are like the way for bands to make it, because you have a captive audience.
Yes.
Like you're playing the level, and it's like the song comes on. What are you gonna do? Stop driving?
You are forced to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So up next, on the top right of my screen, Kashif, can you say who you are, like what's your role in the band, and you know, what got you into the heavier side of music?
Yeah, so my name's Kashif. I am the vocalist of Irae, formerly the drummer and the vocalist, but now I just do vocals.
Like, did you actually record, like, did you play live drumming and being the vocalist?
For our past release in Spirit, yes. For this release, and we can get into this more as we're talking about like maybe even just recording this EP, but I wrote the drums and initially recorded them, and we did not really like the tone of the drums, and so our engineer actually ended up recording the drums again. Okay. So this way we could get a solid take. But so
that's sick. I watched your Hate 6 video and saw you on the drums. I was like, so I was wondering how that worked out. Cool.
Yeah.
A little Code Orange action.
Exactly.
Yes.
Pretty much.
That's cool.
Yeah, so my gateway into the heavy music scene was my mom. My mom's a metalhead, and she loved, like, you know, like stuff that like came out of the 80s and everything, but also her favorite band was Marilyn Manson. So in July of 2001, for her birthday, we got to go to a little festival in Denver, Colorado called Ozfest.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my first, like, you know, time, like, not only, like, hearing this music live, but, like, kind of, like, just seeing the insanity of it. And there was a little tiny band that some of you might know that played that year in support of their release, Iowa, a band called Slipknot, that I saw for the first time. And I was just like, this is the most amazing thing ever. Where can I get more of this? And also, yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think POD and Linkin Park also played that year. And so I thought those bands were cool, but Slipknot was the one that really got my attention. And then from there, found bands that I just really grew to love, bands like As I Lay Dying and Zao. And first time ever hearing a Panic chord was just like, what is that beautiful noise?
I feel scared.
But I love it.
I feel so scared and like evil and powerful all at the same time, and I'm just like
floating.
Right.
Dude, that is awesome, because when I listen to your music, I hear so many Panic chords. I'm like, let's freaking go.
Yeah.
So it really did change you to where now you use them all the time.
Exactly.
So sick, dude. So sick.
Yeah, so that's yeah, I would have to say As I Lay Dying, their album Beneath the Encasing of Ashes was like really like what did it for me. And then they came out just a couple years later with Frail Words Collapse, and that did it for me. And then from there, I started to find bands like Norma Jean and Bless the Martyr, Kiss the Child era type stuff. More things from Zao and Disembodied. Disembodied was a big one for me. Yeah, so all those kinds of bands. Martyr AD. Oh gosh, I don't even know who else.
It Dies Today.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
It Dies Today. So It Dies Today and Still Remains are my two all-time favorite bands.
Cool, cool.
So you guys actually might think this is interesting. So Kashif knows this. My favorite band of all time is a band called Falling Up, which is not a heavy band at all. Like, it's like very like. I mean, the early stuff was kind of more like rock.
Hey, they got
oriented.
Ryan Clark on a song.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
They got heavy.
Yeah,
What?
and they, they had a couple screams here and there. Some scrims.
Dude, you sound so much like Gary right now. Oh my gosh. Stop it, dude. Okay, continue. Sorry for interrupting.
No. But I think I was always drawn to early on with heavy music too. Again, just like I loved and still love like the whole like rap rock movement. Like again, POD, Linkin Park, and then another one I forgot about was Toby Mac. His first solo album, Momentum. That album still goes so hard. I love that album, and it's very nostalgic for me too. But it just that combination of singing and rapping and like there was like some like,
there's electric guitar in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like so it's just stuff like that was definitely super influential with as a kid early on, because like I grew up listening to like classic rock and stuff with my dad, and that was definitely like kind of planting a lot of roots there. But then when I got older, it was like, oh, this is like genres of this that I'd never heard of before. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Toby Mac is cool and all, but PAX 217, anybody?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, Sandbox praise.
Come on.
This episode is now going to be about Christian new metal.
Yeah.
Christian new rock.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool.
Oh yeah, Nathan and I met a few times at Furnace Fest the past couple of years, and
Yeah.
I felt like every conversation always ended up talking about Falling Up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's
Sounds about right.
story of
I
my
think
life.
I think when I saw you guys with Idle Threat, you had a Falling Up shirt on, and I was like, I love Falling Up, and
Yes.
that's how it all
That's
started.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
it's like they're one of those bands that I have to kind of like I don't know, keep my eyes out, because not many people have heard of them, I feel like. So the few that have, I'm like, you're my brother, you're my sister. Like
Gary
Yeah,
definitely shared them with me for sure. I remember
Yeah.
in his Jeep in the summer when we were in college. He's
Yeah.
like, dude, check this out. I forget what song it was. Their most popular, probably.
Yeah.
And he's like, check this out.
Probably Bittersweet, something like that.
Yeah.
It's so sick. And I listened. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. like
Neat,
whatever,
dude.
So cool.
Can you play Haste the Day again?
yeah, this is cool, but
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the next section. So we're going to kind of transition and talk about the band and this EP coming up. So your name, Irae,
Yeah.
where does that come from? Like what was your reason for naming the band that?
Yeah, so everything kind of started in 2014. At that point, we were a band called Wither, and it was more melodic hardcore. But as the band went on, we did 2 EPs, and in the second EP, our original vocalist had left the band, and vocal duties were left to me and our bassist. And so I wanted to go more of that early 2000s metalcore route while still keeping aspects of like the melodic ambient things in there. And just as time went on, we wanted to get heavier and heavier and heavier, kind of like leaving behind the melodic hardcore label. And also around that time, there was another band by the name of Wither that was coming up that had started to, I don't want to say create problems, but like kind of like insinuating that like they really wanted this name and that they would do anything to keep the name. And so I was just like, you guys can have the name, like if it's that important to you, and we'll just come up with something that's more interesting, more cool, something that also does not sound as melodic.
Wither
hardcore.
2.0.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But we were having a hard time coming up with stuff, and our other guitarist, Jose, well, so at that time we had a song called Dies Irae, which is the Latin word for Day of Wrath, and which I'll get into in just a little bit. We were thinking about it, and Jose had said, well, what if we just named the band Irae? And I was just like, honestly, I don't mind it. Like, I think it would be cool. And so the name stuck. But like I said, Irae itself is the Latin word for wrath. We got the name from, like I said, a song that we had written called Dies Irae as Wither, and then we redid that song as the band name that we are now and put that on our full-length Spirit. It's based off of a 15th or 16th century hymn by the same name that the Catholic Church came up with. It's a beautiful Gregorian chant, but the lyrics are insane. The entire song, it talks about the wrath of God and the coming judgment, like a lot of like apocalyptic
end times revelation stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the song is very bleak. Like, it's like you come away reading the lyrics like thinking that, wow, there's no hope left. Like, like if this is what it's going to be, then it's just like, you're pretty much, done for. I'm a goner. Like, there's no hope for me. And somewhere in the song, in one of the stanzas, there's this sweet cry that goes out to Jesus. And the line is something to and I don't remember it exactly because it's been so long, but there's this line that says, in weariness you sought for me, and suffering upon a tree, let not in vain such labor be. King of tremendous majesty, save me, O source of mercy. And I looked at that line and I was just like, that's it. Like, that's the gospel right there. Like, that's the pure, simple, unadulterated gospel that like God is a God who is holy, he is just, he is righteous, he is, all of these things that I am not outside of Christ. But Jesus came to this world, put on, flesh, lived as I lived, cried as I cried, was happy as I was happy, full of joy as I was full of joy, experienced all of the things that I experienced as a human being. And by his righteousness, he gave me a righteousness that was not my own, put me into right standing and right relationship with God. So, and bared the wrath of God that I rightfully deserved. He placed it on himself. And so this way I could be called a child of God, not a child of wrath. And so essentially we adopted this name because we wanted a way to like start conversations of how we could share the gospel with people, that outside of Christ, that I am a child of wrath, but Jesus bore the wrath of God that I deserved. So this way I could be in right standing and right relationship with him.
It's awesome. Amen. I don't know how I can follow that up, or anybody can. So we're out of here. See you.
Sick.
Great episode.
Great episode, guys.
That was an amazing portrayal of the gospel. Super cool. Love that. I do want to thank you guys, though, for putting the pronunciation in your bio on the Instagram.
Yes.
That was all Jose. Jose Rodriguez,
Yes.
you the man. That's all you.
You probably for sure get Irae a lot,
We got
right?
so many different things.
Yeah, the one that we always like get mistaken for is there was a band that is that's big in like the beatdown world called Irate.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like see our name and they're just like, Irate is back, and so
spelled it wrong.
And we're like, sorry,
It's
we
like, sorry, guys.
you. We're not them.
No, we're a calm Christian version
Yeah.
of Irate.
We're
Dude,
righteous anger.
That's awesome. Really cool. So it's not just you two guys in the band. So who else are we missing? What do they play? You guys could fill us in on that.
Yeah, so it's myself, Jose, who is our pretty clean. No, I'm joking. No, he does all like the rhythm stuff, but also like kind of like some of the lead stuff on guitar, and then Nathan. And so we are the three main members. We have two other guys that play with us right now. One of my good friends, Shane, who also goes to church with me, and then recently we got a drummer that's going to be helping us out and doing some stuff with us. His name is Julian. He is 14 years old. But this dude is incredible.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Like, I can't say enough about him. Like, not just his talent, but also his heart posture as well. Like, the kid has just, he's got both the character and the talent to, like, sustain what God has gifted him with. Julian, he is actually from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. His youth pastor and also his drum teacher is Joe Mustin from Advent and formerly Beloved.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
And yeah, his mom is also on staff at their church and works, I guess, as his assistant. But then also he has another drum teacher. His name is Caleb Hogue. We affectionately call him Hoagie. Caleb, I don't know if he's like actually a member or a fill-in, but he plays for a band called One Step Closer.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
A hardcore band from Wilkes-Barre. They actually just played Furnace Fest this past year, but Caleb and I have known each other for a few years, and he actually got us connected with Julian. So, yeah.
Yeah, Tyler knows them. They have the same last name, right?
Yeah, my last name's Hogue,
all
too.
you Hogues.
Nice,
know
let's
each other,
go.
right?
Let's go.
I've gotten the Hoagie name a few times,
There you
too.
go.
So.
Okay.
All right,
cool.
so let's talk about the EP.
Yeah.
It's been like 7 years, almost 7 years since your last album.
Yep, it'll be 7 years in October.
So why the long gap? That's a
Nathan,
loaded question.
you start, and then I'll finish.
So there's a lot of detail to it. So I'll try to give kind of the overarching story. So we released Spirit in 2018, fall of 2018, and we toured like heavily on it in 2019, and then in probably the fall of 2019 going into early 2020, before the pandemic, so like January, February of 2020, we actually started writing these two songs, and which is kind of crazy to think back to that whole time, and we kind of like, I mean, there were a few hands kind of involved in it, with like previous members, but it was like primarily, I remember like Jose and I kind of like sitting down, and Kashif obviously was involved, with being a part of writing these, and then Ben and Leon, past members that, man, we love those guys, and like having them be a part of kind of the early stages of these songs. And then kind of going into the pandemic, we're kind of like wrestling through some stuff in the band anyway, of just like, all right, should we continue the band? Should we not? Like honestly, just making sure like, okay, are we all on the same page spiritually? Like, cause that's like the most important thing for us, when it comes to, it's like, yeah, the music is important, and like musical preference and how we want to write stuff and how we want to sound is great. But like the most important thing is, okay, are we in this, like Irae we have a vision for Irae, and we kind of always say like, the standard really is nothing less than holiness. And obviously like we're imperfect and broken, but like that's our goal, and as people, men of God in the band, but then outside of the band in our walks with the Lord, and like just in our church communities, in our families, in our, friendships. And so we're just like working through a lot of stuff as a band and kind of figuring out, all right, should we kind of lay it to rest? Should we keep going? And we kind of like, we felt like, it was really, I think Kashif, Jose, and I kind of were like, all right, I think it might be time to kind of like let go of this. And then like, interestingly, the timing was weird with the pandemic kind of hitting right, I guess in March of 2020. Then we kind of like, well, I guess we don't really have to make this decision necessarily, because we can't really like do anything.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of like a combination of, Kashif moving to Johnson City, and then I know I was doing, a lot more stuff with Idle Threat, and Jose, having kids and stuff, him and his wife. And so we didn't forget about it, but we never really officially broke up either. It kind of just like, into the fog. And then it was like, fast forward to 2023, which now is weird. This almost, I guess, 2 years ago now. It was like the summer of 2023. Jose, I still remember this. He texted Kashif and me and was like, guys, we got to finish these two songs. We just got to record these, have one final kind of nail in the coffin per se, to like have a send off and be like, to lay it to rest properly, So that was the plan. I knew in the back of my mind, and the other guys did too, as soon as we start recording these songs again and finishing writing them, we're going to get bit by the bug again and be like,
For sure.
why are we breaking up? Like, we could just kind of like, revamp it and like, still have the same branding as Irae, obviously, and same band, but, and like the other guys that, were a part of the band have kind of moved on to other stuff too. So it kind of primarily was like just us three now, and we kind of could kind of refocus and reevaluate some stuff. And then we hit up our really good friend, Shawn Robinson. He actually recorded and produced and engineered Spirit.
That was my next question.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, who did your last one and then this one too?
Yeah. So that was kind of the connecting point too for us. Where it was like, all right, let's like, hit up Shawn and see if he's down to record these songs. And so I remember I flew out to Virginia, like, in the summer of 2023. And then we kind of all like collaboratively finished these songs and then recorded them. So, I mean, that's kind of like, long story short, but long story long, I guess.
Yeah. With that, so a year after we released Spirit, I felt from the Lord that I was supposed to move down to Tennessee to join my mentor and pastor, Mattie Montgomery, to help him with the church that he was starting in Tennessee. And I ended up moving down and, thinking the band's, still going to go strong. Like, we're coming off of this high, and then all of a sudden, the pandemic comes, and I'm just seeing a lot of stuff within the hardcore scene that I'm thinking, like, I don't know if there's really a place for us anymore. Like, the scene that we specifically belong to, like, we weren't really known in the Christian community of heavy bands. We were more known in, like, the underground hardcore scenes. Like, a lot of the bands that we were playing with, like, are bands that you would see on, like, a Furnace Fest lineup, or This Is Hardcore, or FYA, or like, some of these other hardcore underground festivals. And so, like, that was where we were, and there are not many Christian bands or bands of faith in general that are within that scene. And it took us years for just like people to be able to even trust us, because it's a very, like, it can be very hostile towards, like, Christian beliefs and everything, just with everything that has happened in just past years with, like, politically and, like, culturally and all sorts of things. So we thought, there's probably not a place for us, or at least I was thinking there's probably not a place for us anymore. And so I just like kind of like sat in the back just thinking, like, I'll just let the band die out. Like, so we went on an unofficial hiatus because we never announced it. And just people assumed that, okay, well, Irae's done. Well, that sucks. But
another band with one album and half.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. Shut up, poured out. No, I'm joking. Let me stop. I love those guys. Anyway.
I miss them.
So yeah, going back to 2023, Jose, our guitarist, had, texted us like, let's finish well. And as soon as he said that, I heard the Holy Spirit in my heart, like, say that you've not honored me with this band. And I was just like, what, like, God, what do you mean? And, I felt the Holy Spirit speaking to me, and just like, kind of, going through that, the way that you start a season, or the way that you finish a season, is the way that you start your next season.
Yep, that's good.
And, like, there were projects that were kind of like falling in my lap that it was just like, okay, if I didn't finish Irae well, I'm probably not going to start these other opportunities well at all. And so we felt that, like, the Lord was calling us to, or just directing us to, like, finish these couple songs and see what happens with them. And so we got these songs together, just bouncing ideas off of one another, seeing how it could, like, all work out. And then I thought, like, it would be awesome to really just, like, get people that I love, that have had an influence on my life, have had an influence in my walk, possibly be a part of this album. And so I thought, what if we could get Mattie Montgomery out of vocal retirement? And so, obviously, he had not done anything in over 7 years at that point. And so I just submitted it to him. I was just like, sir, what would you, I affectionately call him dad. Like he is, like Mattie Montgomery is kind of like my bonus dad. But I said to him, like, what would you think about potentially doing guest vocals on this song? And the way that I came at him with it was, obviously, like, you know, he had an amazing career in For Today. Mm-hmm. But there are songs that he has written the lyrics to that he would come back and say now that he doesn't agree with those songs theologically. Mm-hmm. Songs like Devastator. Songs like, you know, I forget what the song was, but I think it's on Immortal, where he says, I was made for war. Like, you know, things like that. Of like the, kind of like the spiritual warfare side of things.
Right. War cry stuff. Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we have a...
But not the Ride 'em Cowboy song, right?
Yeah. Now,
Funny,
love that. Johnson City.
Best call out ever,
Tennessee.
I actually wish I'm tempted to call him right now because he fought tooth and nail to get that part removed.
Is that Set Your Goals?
So did he fight face?
No. It's the song Redemption off of
Redemption. That's what
off of Ecclesia.
Yeah.
And so he fought. Yeah, no, he fought tooth and nail to get that removed. And the rest of the band, David actually told me this, that, like, they were just like, no, because, like, it's, like, a massive part of, like, our live shows, and, like, whenever we do that, like, the whole crowd goes, ride 'em, cowboy!
It's awesome,
That's like the scream in Entombment of a Machine. Like with
Yes.
Or man, do you guys remember Underneath the Gun?
Yes, that was the other one.
The just like that clap, that yeah.
It was a different time too, though, right?
Yeah.
Like
it really
that
was.
metalcore was just a different time.
It was so sick. But yeah, so I came at him at Mattie, just asking him if he would be a part of this song not under the guise, but like, you know, with the intentions of like, hey, this song could actually potentially redeem like what you did in Devastator, because this song is the opposite of Devastator. Like, you know, it's called Seven Horns, Seven Eyes, Seven Seals, and the whole thing is based off of Revelation 4 and 5. That Christ has always been, always will be victorious, and that, you know, the best, your best position in spiritual warfare is not shouting at demons. It's not saying like, I command you to get out in the Jesus name, blah 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 blah. Like, I mean, you know, some of that can be well and good, but it's like it shouldn't be like what we're seeing in the modern deliverance ministry. Right. Thing that your ultimate victory in spiritual warfare, or your best position, is actually to stand behind Jesus.
Yeah. Yes, that's good.
Mm-hmm. It's like what Paul says that, or no, I think it's James. Yeah, James says this, that that to submit to God, resist the devil and he will flee. Yeah. It's like your best position is to like take a knee before Jesus, to submit to him, to be obedient to him, and let him like fight the battles for you. And so we wrote that song based on that position, and I thought, like, what better of a person to to get on this than Mattie Montgomery. And so he thought about it. He was just like, we'll see. And that's a famous saying that we have in our house. He thought about it, and then I remember exactly where I was when he gave me that call saying that he would do it. I was dropping something off for our worship pastor over at his house, and it was nighttime. I'm getting ready to pull out, and I see the text, and he says, "Hey, I would love to be a part of that song. Let me know what we need to do to get it moving." And I was just like, oh my gosh, we got him out of vocal retirement.
Can I get that in writing?
Yeah, got a screenshot.
So, not too long after that, this was August of 2003, or 2023, that I was getting ready to lay down the drum tracks, and he was going to come and lay down the vocals. And the cool thing is that Mattie has three boys, and the youngest, who is 6 now, has never ever seen For Today. because he came along after the band was done. And so he had always said, like, Dad, I want to see, like, you know, like, do some of this type of stuff. And so he brought the three boys, and the three boys, like, two of them are just, like, sitting, like, on the side, just, like, wait for it. Just wait for it. And the youngest is just, like, you know, he's thinking this is super awesome. But then Mattie starts to get into it and just going, like, you know, like, all that.
Yeah.
And his youngest is terrified. He runs to me and is just like holding on to me like, Chief, I've never seen Dad like this before. This is scary. And so, but yeah, so he recorded his parts and I'm just like sitting there geeking. Like, I'm just like, this is what it must have been like when he was recording Ecclesia and Portraits and Breaker and all those great albums. And so it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But.
And then kind of going off of that, the other feature, our good friend Shawn from Symphony and Peril, that was really cool. Because that was a crazy connection too, because obviously we all love Zao and adore Zao. And so it's like, so I met Shawn through Idle Threat because we got to tour with Symphony and Peril. And so this was like, I think 2023. I think it was right before Furnace Fest of 2023. We had a short run with them, and that was surreal for me because I was like, this band is legendary. Like these guys are amazing. And even just from a distance, like not knowing how that tour was going to go, I was like, had so much excitement and anticipation. And then like we started that tour, became super close to like all those guys. We still are close to them. They're so amazing and like just solid brothers in Christ, and just so encouraging and just uplifting. And that tour was awesome. And then so I got to know Shawn really well on that tour. And yeah, and then it was like we were fast forward a little bit to like kind of thinking about guest spots for the album and whatnot. We were like, all right, who should we have like be on Tetelestai, like that track and everything. And we kind of were like thinking through, and I was like, we could have Shawn do it. Like, and he was like so stoked to do it. Like, and so for Kashif and me, like having like, you know, OG Zao, you know, royalty, you know, like,
yeah, that's so sick.
It's super cool. And he has such a like distinct voice too, that it's like, I don't know, I'd be hard pressed to like have people be like, who was that? Like, you know, you listen to it, you're like, wow, that's Shawn. So that was a cool connection, like through Idle Threat to kind of like be able to use, you know, use that and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys, like, when you decide you want someone to be a guest on a song, have you already written and recorded like your spot in that, and you're like, I want you to do this spot, or do you tell them to write their piece and you squeeze it in? Like,
I'm the one who writes the parts. Now, unless if like there's one track that we had on our previous album that's called A Threnody for Grace, where the guest spot on that was a guy named John Pence, and he's been in multiple bands, but notably he's been in a band called In Alcatraz 1962. Let's see, Prison, and then he fills in for a band called Traitors from time to time. But he did like the ending part, which I had already written. But he added like kind of just like this ad lib, like when like type of thing when the breakdown started, and like he thought it was corny, but we're listening to it and I'm just like, this is hard. Like I'm sorry to anyone who ever gets in my way in the pit, like, you know, if I'm moshing to this. But so sometimes like we've had people ad lib things, but for the most part I'll write it for them, and that's just because like I have a specific vision with this type of stuff, and there's a certain thing that I want to communicate. So yeah, for Mattie, for example, I had already had the lyrics written, but he's reading this, and I had no idea about this. It's like, I've known Mattie for going on 13 years now, and I never knew that his favorite passage was Revelation 4 and 5. Wow. And so literally the lyrics that I gave him are just from that, and it's just like, okay, I'm speaking his language. Like this fits perfectly. And then for Shawn, you know, I don't know him as well, but I know like the influence that his bands have had on my life. So something that I did was I actually went over not just the lyrics with him, but also like what the lyrics were about, so this way he could actually connect with it.
For sure.
So that helps a lot normally. But yeah, usually I'll write out the lyrics, tell them the style of how like I want this, give them like, you know, examples, and then what I'll even do is I'll record it, so this way like they can actually hear how it's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all of this stuff is usually written even before we record it. Like, it's like I already know what it's gonna, like, what I potentially want it to sound like, and then, you know, we'll record our parts or whatever. Mattie actually recorded his parts before I ever laid down mine. But like, I would give him examples of like, this is what I want it to sound like.
Well, the build up to Mattie's part is amazing.
Insane. Yeah.
Thank you.
I was gonna say we've heard two songs, Tetelestai and 777. You guys sent us early, which was awesome. We have been nonstop rolling those things, and they don't even count. They don't even count right now for streams, right? So it's like, dude, yeah. So we'll keep playing it once it fully comes out. This will have dropped after it's come out. So
yeah,
dude, they're so sick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That means the world. Like, I feel like with these two songs, I think I can speak for Kashif and myself, and Jose too, but especially Kashif and me, like, we love so many of the same bands, and like, again, that early 2000s metalcore specifically, because we like grew up on that. And so for the longest time we have been wanting to like kind of just go back to those roots in a lot of ways. And so with these songs, I really feel, especially 777 for me personally, I feel like that was like the start of like opening the door, the little like sliver of light, you know, of like, wow, this is like the sound that we've been trying to achieve for for so long, you know. So it's cool like to finally like see that happen.
Yeah, it sounds, I don't know, the mix is awesome. Like, the guitars, especially on 777, to me, like, they hit. Like, it comes through the production. So it's a gym track for me. So
cool.
Let's go.
Just on Google Drive, just kind of restarting it.
That's awesome.
That's amazing, dude.
That's so cool.
We do have kind of a reel we did like a year ago, and it was, if you've seen Rookie of the Year, Chet Stedman, he's pitching and his arm goes out. Yep. Goes to his coach, comes in and says, you know, taking you out, and he's like, give me one more. Just one more. Yeah. And our reel was that, but then it had all these albums of these bands, and one was For Today. Like, give me one more album, you know?
Yep.
And Mattie commented on that and said, y'all aren't ready for another For Today album. Y'all wouldn't be ready. And so we were all like, he responded. That must mean
what does that mean?
Dude, that had to
How
be
long
like
ago was
2
this?
years? Had to be
right
maybe?
around that time.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Okay.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear Mattie on that, because for us, For Today is like a huge band for us, for sure. Yeah. You know, it's one of those two that like, it's cool that you know Mattie so well, but when we saw him in Seattle, over a decade ago.
Was that with
That was
Whitechapel?
Prada. Whitechapel was there.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that tour. Into Shikari too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love
Talking
that band
about
so
call outs, the claps with
Anyways.
I would get a fully date of that one.
It always feels like whenever we saw Mattie and he does his preaching, you know, it's like, dude, it feels like he's just talking to you. Mm-hmm. And exactly what you need in that moment. And like Gary and I, we left like, dude, we're going to freaking change this world. Like, we were just fired
We're gonna
up.
take over our universe.
And I will always remember that moment where he preached, you know, and the obviously the songs and set list and was so sick, but like that moment was like, dude, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
So cool. I love everything they've done, and I think it's cool. It's cool to hear him on a track again.
Yeah, it's awesome that you got him. Like, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
We're super excited.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
So going back to, you guys said this a long time ago, but you said in hardcore, like especially the underground hardcore, there's not a lot of Christian influences. We always talk about this. Like, there is that, I want to say like East Coast hardcore underground, there's nothing. And we try our best to find it, and sometimes there's some like DIY stuff that comes up.
Yeah.
But there's not much there. And so it's really cool to hear you guys that like that was your spot. I think of like deathcore, like Impending Doom was doing that for a long time in the deathcore scene.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool to hear you guys say like that's where you felt like you were called, because the metalcore scene for early 2000s, man, it was saturated, right?
Yeah,
it's just that underground hardcore like you're talking about, which is it's a cool to hear you guys talk about that for sure.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that they're now, I think, and I don't know what the cause of it is, but there's been a lot of bands that feel empowered to bring their faith back into the music that they create again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's been so encouraging. Like, there's a band that we've been friends with for a number of years now. They started off as a band called Dwell from North Carolina. Their members, when that band broke up, their members went to a bunch of different bands. The vocalist Jacob ended up becoming the vocalist of Chamber. Their bassist Ryan went into a band called Sanction, which is one of my favorite bands. And then there were twin brothers in the band, Isaac and Ian. Something happened to where, like, I think one of them went into the military for a while, but then they came back, and Ian joined a band called Ends of Sanity.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, so they also played for Furnace Fest just this past year. But now him and his brother started a spirit-filled band called Chaos Must Bow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
and
I love Chaos Must Bow.
They're so sick.
Really
like, and it's just like, and I'm like seeing like the shows that they're playing, and it's like, you know, with like, you know, all of these again underground hardcore bands, and it's just like, and you look at the lyrics, and it's just like, yep, that's it. Like, and it's so encouraging to see like that there are more bands coming out, like more and more that are like a part of the scene, or that are being like, you know, where it's like, yeah, people might have their opinions about Christianity at the end of the day, but people are becoming more, it seems more respectable of it, and like willing to have conversations. Like, I can't begin to tell you how many times, like I go to local shows all the time, and how many times, like, it's not even me bringing up faith. It's someone else, like, who's not a part of the faith, like, hey, I have these questions, like, could you explain this to me, or can we talk about this, like, what does this mean, and like, you know, all of this other stuff. And it's been really, really cool getting to see, like, you know, people being more open to the gospel, and like even just like being able to have like a conversation, even if we go away disagreeing at the end of the day.
Right.
And so it's been something that's really encouraging that I'm seeing like happen again within this scene.
Yeah, I feel like there definitely is a resurgence happening I feel like just in the spirit too, of like a lot of guys that maybe have been believers and been in bands that, like, yeah, like Kashif said, are feeling now kind of more empowered and like feeling more authority, you know, to like, hey, like, it's one, I mean, Christianity's never been like cool in the sense of like, you know, I mean, I guess there was like, you know, there was like the heyday of kind of like all these bands that were like Christian metalcore bands.
If you're not a Christian metalcore band, you're not a good band.
Right. And but it's like, I feel like we're kind of like coming back around, and the Lord's really like bringing so many bands to light, you know, and just like, again, I think just all over the country too. And, you know, like there was just like a massive tour announced with like, you know, Bloodlines, Confession of a Traitor, No Treaty, like, you know, it's like, there's where we've all been, like, you know? Yeah. And so it's been encouraging and cool, because for so long, I mean, especially like, you know, 2018, 2019, we felt, and this is no shade at anyone else, no shade towards any other bands and believers in bands, whatnot. We just felt like kind of like alone in it. Not, I mean, obviously we weren't really, but in the sense of like, man, this is like, all right, Lord, we're gonna keep doing this. This is tough, you know. We kind of feel like, you know, brothers in Christ are few and far between in this scene, you know, with like, as far as bands go, there was like definitely people just in the scene who were believers, but it's cool to kind of see like almost like reinforcements like coming and being like, all right, Lord, we've kind of like felt like we've been on the front line for so long, and like now it's like we have a little bit of like more support, you know, in it, which is cool. And it really was cool, like watching the Lord, you know, in 2018, 2019, just opening so many doors with people that like we shouldn't have had, you know, like we especially like in the Philly scene and like New Jersey, and we had so much respect that like we didn't deserve as like a Christian band, because like we'd be sharing the stage with like bands claiming to be Satanists, or like, you know, super anti-Christian or whatever, you know, but we're like friends with them, you know. It's like, hey, those are our friends up there, you know, and we could like hang out with them after and talk, and they knew it's not like we were like closet Christians or anything. It's like we were very open about like where we stand, but the Lord was like doing so much there that was uniting us, and you know, we got to like, I love just thinking about those tours, because like I got to pray for so many people that like just didn't know the Lord, you know, and like or had different beliefs or like, you know, different opinions on stuff, and like they were all so receptive to it, and that was just all the Lord just opening those doors.
Or even like people coming up to us like after our set and just like, when you guys played, that like I felt something like shift in me, like I felt things like change, and or just like there was like something there, and it was just like, I can introduce you to that something if you like, because it's not just something, it's a someone. But I think it's easy to say that you're a Christian band. If you are a Christian band, I think it's easy to like get up there and just like, you know, like to want to like, you know, like share your beliefs and like, you know, to do this, that, and not to say that those things are easy, but I think it's an easy thing to do it, but it's a different thing to actually have something of substance behind it. Like, and not to make it about like the emotion or the experiences or anything, like it's like those aren't the most important things, because truth is what's most important. But you know, I'm reminded of Paul when he says that, like, you know, that when we came to you with the gospel, we didn't just merely come with words, like we came with a demonstration of power. This is actually a secondary thing for us, but we do hope that when people come to our shows, that they would encounter a real God. That they would encounter, like, you know, the presence of God for the first time ever. And it's crazy because I say that's a secondary thing, but what's more
the primary?
The primary thing, the Westminster Shorter Catechism, that says, what is the chief end of man? To glorify God and to enjoy him forever. I always get choked up talking about this, but our primary purpose is Revelation 5:13, which is to him who sits on the throne and unto the Lamb. Like our purpose and our everything that we do, it's for Christ. Whether people get to experience him or not, whether people like boo us or whether people say like, you know, shut up, F you, get off the stage, stop talking about it, which has happened before. It's like, it doesn't matter. I want Jesus to be blessed by this. Like, I want to come away like knowing that what I did moved his heart first and foremost. And then that as a result of that, as the overflow of that, Jesus begins to pour out his presence, where he begins to show people his kindness and his love and who he really is, and begin to mess with people's like imaginations of what God, the God of their imagination was like, you know, like, well, you know, God wasn't there for me when, you know, A, B, and C happened, or, you know, like, well, I had a bad experience with Christianity. It's just like, you know, I want to be such a blessing to Jesus that he is so moved in such a way where he begins to like, you know, like, let me break down some of those ideas, those thoughts that you've had about me and show you what I am truly like. And so,
amen.
That's so cool. It definitely, and that shows through in your lyrics big time. When you shared these songs with us, Gary messaged me pretty quickly and was like, dude, you're going to love 777. It's basically a worship song, you know? And,
right. I was like, it's a worship song.
And so I listened to it, you know, and I was like, oh, man. And it hits. And Spirit, all your songs, man, it's like there's definitely, you feel exactly what you said. Glorifying God and everything is so cool. A lot of times we kind of have this running joke, like, there's a lot of bands that we would say are in the scene that are Christian that are like, you know, you got to really look deep in the lyrics. Like, are they really there, or is it just like a positive, like...
bunch of metaphors.
Pick your brother up, you know, that type of deal.
And
so, you know, I responded back to him. I was like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if these guys are Christian or not. Okay, obviously, through your lyrics, like, it's just... It's
kind of hard
so,
to tell.
It's so blatant, you know? And we love, and Gary and I, we crave, like, these types, like Irae, we crave these bands because... that's what we believe. That helps edify us, and it's just it's amazing singing and screaming and loving God and all of his qualities. And you guys do such a great job musically and lyrically, dude. We just love it.
Thank you. That means the world.
And we didn't shine enough light on Tetelestai, but That ending,
phenomenal, dude.
Dude, I got goosebumps at the end of that song.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what most people have come away saying who have heard the song, that it was just like that they felt like that they were being taken on a journey while listening to that song, and then all of a sudden just ending with like, what just happened?
Right.
So, it's like a two-step song all the way till the very end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like break down and the talking about Jesus on the tree.
Yep.
Yeah. That song, that one actually means a lot to me. I actually had the lyrics written to that song for a long time. That song was actually supposed to be a different song.
Okay.
Where, like, it was supposed to be in the style of A Threnody for Grace. Which,
Wow.
if you've listened to that song, it's very chill. It's Nathan singing, like, you know, the majority of the song. And it was going to be kind of like something like from Indian Lakes or My Epic.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
And then we had, we've actually played Tetelestai live, but it was a different version back in the day. It's like you guys said, you know, I don't want to beat around the bush with what I believe. If I cannot tell that this is pointing towards Christ, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. NIV said it best, I will die tonight for my beliefs, you know. And so it's based off of like our experience as Christians as a whole. Like the whole story is about like a person who has come to the faith, but they're still struggling with, like, you know, the things that they did in the past before they were in Christ.
And that's what like the chorus is about.
Yeah, and so like I actually wrote it from this perspective of something that I experienced that I unfortunately, and it's I guess it's a thorn that, like, you know, that I'm willing to bear for the glory of God, but I unfortunately suffer from terrible nightmares, things that I'm afraid of, things of what was, things of what will be, things of, like, you know, like uncertainty of the future. It's something that I just cannot help. I feel like for a lot of people who have had, like, you know, who have done wrong things, that have, like, you know, made horrible choices and that they've come with severe consequences, that sometimes, like, you know, those things that we do, they're almost like a bad nightmare where you're just like cycling through it over and over again, like thinking about it. And so I wrote it from that kind of perspective of my dreams when they haunt me are figments of reality. My dreams when they find me, conscious torment mentality. Like, it's just like I have to live with like the reality of this. Starting off the song with "O wretched man that I am, save me from this body of death," coming straight from Romans, where you know, Paul, you know, asks this question of, like, you know, like the things that I don't do, that I ought to do, I don't do them, and the things that I don't want to do, that I should not do, I still do it. Oh, wretched man that I am, like, who will save me from this? And like the answer is obviously through Christ, and that's what we wanted to end that song with. In the song, I actually talk about 3 people in Scripture. The first one is Elijah, when he did all of these powerful things for God, and God manifests his power through him, and like things are great, and then all of a sudden he slays the 400 prophets of Baal, and then all of a sudden Jezebel's just like, I'm gonna take your life as well, so run. He comes to a place where it's just like, what the heck was all of that for, if all of a sudden my life's just going to be taken just like I took those false prophets' lives? God meets him in a way where he confirms that you think that you're walking through this by yourself, but there are people that I've raised up that are after my heart, that are after my ways, that are after my precepts. And the second is Ezekiel. I can't imagine, like, you know, being in a place where you're told to say hard things to a people who have consistently rebelled against God. And then it's just like, hey, I'm going to ask you to say some more things to them to kind of like just drive it in. But also I'm going to bring you into a place where everything looks hopeless. And, you know, he finds himself in this valley full of bones and everything. And it's just like, you see desolation, but God sees a promise. Like, God sees like something that can be, something that will be, that like, even though this is the reality now, it's not going to stay this way. Yep. And then the final person is Thomas. He doubts that Jesus has come back to life. He's probably feeling guilt from not standing by his side. Jesus finally appears to him, and there's an invitation to actually get intimate with him by placing his finger in the place where they pierced him, both in his hands and his side. It's in that moment that he fully, comes to recognize, like, oh my gosh, like, not only is it you, but, like, I recognize who you are now.
Yeah.
That you're not just some mere person, you're my Lord and my God. And, like, despite his doubts and despite his lack of faith, it's just like we've all been in those places. And, like I said earlier, Paul gives the answer for the question, that the answer is Christ, that the answer is Jesus, that Tetelestai, it is finished,
right,
is to look at the finished work of the cross. That when you look at the finished work of the cross and what Jesus accomplished in his death and also in his resurrection, that you can actually deal with those things. I might deal with nightmares and that sucks. I might deal with like things where I get stressed out over, what is or what is to be and all of this other stuff. But thank God that his grace is sufficient for me in those moments. And that like he imparts that grace to all who would believe, to all who have received him, who would call on his name. He gave them the right to become children of God. And it's just like, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is that I might struggle with this or that, and like, but that's not the end of the story, if that makes sense. And so, sorry, preaching here, but
that's phenomenal.
No, it's good. I was actually wondering where those verses came from, and so you kind of shed some light on that. So
yeah. I'm
a very lyrical person, and I like to deep dive into where did this come from? Why did he say these things? So
sure,
that was interesting.
Yeah.
No.
So, what's next for Irae? What can we expect in the upcoming year and beyond?
Since this is coming out after we release the EP, we have a show where we're going to be celebrating the release of the EP. It's going to be in Johnson City, Tennessee, for anyone who would want to come. June 7th with our friends Breaker Barber Company. We're doing it in a barber shop. Like, let's go. Like,
can you get her haircut at the same time?
I was gonna say, like,
yes, you can.
Like,
yep. It's funny because like you
just don't pop
like,
your head. Right?
Yeah.
No, it's just so funny because like you have like all of these bands that like it's just like, oh, this band played in Denny's, this band played in like and we're doing it in a barber shop. Like
someone just did it recently in a Waffle House.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so June 7th at Breaker Barber Company, it's going to be featuring Meadows.
Nice.
Cool.
Our good friends in Backslide, Idle Threat.
Pulling double duty.
A band called Open Wound from Ohio.
Love Open Wound.
We love Open
Yep, and then some other friends of ours in Septum Bone.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
yeah, that'll be June 7th. You can get your haircut if you want. We also have some under vendors. I wanted to do some things where we were featuring local businesses in the Johnson City, Tri-Cities, Northeast Tennessee area. And so my friend Alex Weaver is going to be bringing a trailer, a wood fire trailer, slinging wood fire pizzas.
Nice.
My friend Preston Bishop is going to be there doing flash tattoos of some of the things from this EP. So flash art that is related to this EP. So you could get a tattoo if you want. Another
tattoo,
That's
pizza.
right.
Pizza,
works.
and then
Sounds hardcore. Dude.
Right.
It does sound like true hardcore.
Yeah.
my friend Ty, who I'm working with at Nathan Show 'em the Hat, Fearless Coffee and Kitchen.
Oh, cool.
So a friend of mine and I are starting a restaurant in the Johnson City area called Fearless Coffee and Kitchen. One of our co-workers is a guy named Ty. He owns a coffee truck called Sweet Caroline's. So they're going to be doing coffee. And then my other friends, also check these guys out. I'm sorry, this is a quick plug. But my friends Jacob and Mariah Coyne, they run a ministry called Stay Here. It's all about suicide prevention and awareness. They're amazing people, and their ministry is going to be represented there and giving people like who need help a 1 month trial to BetterHelp. So for anyone who needs it. So
That's great. That
some
sounds
of the
like a great
resources.
party.
It's going to be awesome.
Such a sick lineup, too.
I know, right?
Bands that we like right now.
How do we get people to come up to Washington State, Tyler?
Yeah, dude, we're far away. That's the hard part.
You guys got Emery and Demon Hunter.
That's right. That's true.
That's right.
Had. Even Demon Hunter barely plays in Washington now.
Oh, goodness.
How can we have our fans, our listeners, support you? What are the best ways to support Irae?
Nathan?
Yeah, so, I mean, a couple different ways. Obviously, we're on social media, Irae Hardcore on Instagram, Irae on Facebook. And, like, we're always, I mean, we love the support. And obviously, but if you ever need anything, just hit us up. Whether it's, the band, socials, or if you, like, have us on social media. Like, I mean, like, I know for me, like, I love just ministry and, like, ministering to people, and just, like, if people need something. And, like, I love praying for people. And I know Kashif does too, obviously, and he's like, if you have a theological question, he's the guy. Like,
yeah, he's got a lot of Bible verses memorized just on this.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
thanks, Bible College.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you could just support us through like social media and whatnot, and definitely once. Well, I guess by now the EP will be out. Just streaming that, it means the world to us, and like we have. Well, by then we may not have any of the T-shirts left, I guess, but we have merch that we have online for pre-orders and whatnot. And yeah, and also just saying, obviously whatever the Lord wants, but the timing of this podcast is really interesting because literally just yesterday I was like sitting down writing new material for Irae and was sending it to the guys and like new instrumental stuff. So you never know what's coming down the road.
I'm just gonna say real quick. I listened to it this morning and I almost cussed. Like I was like,
good or bad?
In a good way, yeah.
Oh, good way.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like wow, this sucks. Like no.
Frick, dude. No. Like it.
That's cool.
Like it was that bad. Like, yeah. No, I'm joking. No, it was really that. It really was that good.
That's awesome.
So
and obviously, when this drops, like it'll be already super popular and topping the charts. So when's the physical release?
Which it was actually pretty intentional. I wanted to release it the day before Passover starts. So for those that don't know, I'm a Messianic Jew. I grew up in a Jewish household. Came to faith in Jesus when I was 15. And kind of like, went back and forth in it. But like, I wanted to do something like that, like coincided with Passover and Holy Week and all that. So yeah, April 11th.
So, are you going to have like CDs and vinyl?
Probably not. It's probably just going to be a purely digital release. Okay. And then who knows, maybe we'll do some more stuff with our previous full-length Spirit, maybe, possibly, hopefully, I don't know. We do still have physical copies of Spirit.
Yeah.
So,
I think we do.
Yep, they're all in my car. So, if you ever want one, you got to probably come to a show or message me to send one out to you. So,
alrighty. Well, you could always do what Earthgrounds does and drop 2 EPs and then make a vinyl one side.
There you go.
1 EP.
Ooh, that's right.
So thank you guys for coming on. It was great hearing more about your band and learning more about you guys. And it just made me like you guys even more.
Me too, man.
So I can't wait to see how this is received. I think it's going to be amazing. I think a ton of people are going to love it. And we look forward to what you guys do next even.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you guys. It means the world.
Thank you for listening.